Good day everyone, I am Joanne M. Formenteran and I'll be talking about Carl Rogers' biography, Contribution to Psychology. Carl Rogers, an American psychologist, researcher, and author, widely considered to be one of the founding fathers of humanistic psychology. He developed person-centered therapy, a form of talk therapy that emphasized a personal supported relationship between the therapist and the client. Carl Rogers' family background. Born on January 8, 1902 in Oak Park, Illinois. His parents were Walter Rogers and Julia Cushing. Roger was fourth of 6 children. His father worked as a civil engineer and his mother was a homemaker. Carl Rogers' early life. Rogers often felt lonely. One reason for his loneliness was his belief that his parent had a greater love for one of his older brothers. This led to considerable competition between Roger and his brother. When Roger was 12 years old, his family moved from the suburb to live on a farm in the country. They raised sheep, pigs, and cows. Roger read through all the books on agricultural science that his father brought home. This knowledge and his ability to work independently on the farm sparked his love for science. Roger was an excellent student. Roger learned how to study individual variables, use control groups, and collect and analyze data. This experience contributed much to his future work as a psychologist. Carl Rogers' educational background. University of Wisconsin-Madison after leaving high school. His goal was to study agriculture. In 1922, a 20-year-old Roger was invited to attend an international Christian student conference in China. During his 6 months of travel, he wrote to his parents that his religious view had changed from fundamentalist to liberal. After going to a seminar entitled, "Why I'm Entering the Ministry?" Roger decided to quit agriculture. His new goal was to study theology and become a minister. In 1944, graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison with a bachelor degree in his history and immediately enrolled at Union Theological Seminary in New York City. In 1982, earned his master's degree in psychology. In 1931, his PhD in psychology. In 1939, Roger was appointed as director of the center. 1935 to 1940, he lectured at the University of Rochester. In 1947, Roger accepted a position as professor of psychology and executive secretary for the Counseling Center at the University of Chicago. From 1957 to 1963, Rogers taught at the University of Wisconsin. Roger initially pursued a career in the ministry but later shifted to psychology. His early experience working with the young people, particularly during his time at the Union Theological Seminary, exposed him to limitation of traditional religious approach and sparked his interest in understanding human behavior and experiences. The shift was gradually influenced by exposure to progressive educational philosophy and a growing awareness of the limitation of rigid religious dogma. He found himself more interested in the practical application of helping people than in theological debate. Humanistic psychology. At the time when Roger began his work, psychology was dominated by psychoanalytic theory and behaviorism. Roger rejected this perspective and promoted a more optimistic view of humans' ability to shape their own behavior and enhance themselves in a positive way. His approach was central to the humanistic movement in psychology. Carl Rogers and self-actualization. Roger believed all organisms are born with one basic motive, a tendency toward development, maintenance, enhancement, and fulfillment. This actualizing tendency, as he termed it, moves organisms to satisfy their biological needs and promote physical maturation. In humans, the actualizing tendency also motivates individuals to develop psychologically. Roger referred to this unique psychological aspect of the actualizing tendency as self-actualization, since it involves development of the self. Self-actualization is a striving to achieve one's highest potential. In the face of unbearable life events, the actualizing tendency may become impaired or inhibited. The actualizing tendency is regulated by what Roger called organismic valuing process. However, Roger's belief was that it cannot be destroyed except by death. Even when adverse circumstances severely limits an organism's ability to grow, Roger believed it will keep striving as best as it can, while adjusting to the constraint of the situation. The self, congruence and incongruence. The self or self-concept consists of those conscious perception and sensation that we associate with me or I. Incongruence, a clear disparity between one's perception of the self and one's actual experiences. The congruence, where their experiences closely match their interval representation of the self. Congruence is a comfortable state that people tend to stay in or move toward, while incongruence is an uncomfortable state that people try to avoid. Here are some examples of congruence and incongruence. Examples of congruence: you think I like my friend, you feel happy or content, and you feel alert, warm, relaxed, and light. While incongruence, you think I like myself, but you feel sad, worried, upset, or nervous, and you feel your heart racing, heavy, cold, or hot. The real self refers to the way individuals actually see themselves. Who you are right now with all your strengths and weaknesses. Your real self is how you think, feel, look, and act. Ideal self refers to the type of person they believe they should be. The person you want to be, with the qualities you want to possess. Your ideal self might be kinder, braver, or more successful. The difference between your ideal self and your real self can motivate you to improve, grow. However, both your ideal self and your real self are fluid and change over time. When these paths diverge, it can lead to psychological issues such as an identity crisis. Carl Rogers believed that people should strive for consistency between their ideal self and their real self. Conditional versus unconditional positive regard. Conditional positive regard receive love and acceptance only under certain conditions or when they engage in certain behaviors. And the unconditional positive regard, love and acceptance are provided independent of the child behavior with no string attached. Conditional positive regard and a condition of worth set the stage for incongruence. Consider a young girl who enjoys playing soccer and has a dream of playing professionally. Then her mother disapproves for her soccer playing but constantly tells her how proud she would be or her if she became a teacher like her sister. This condition or worth soon become incorporated into her self-concept. She started to believe she should excel in teaching because this would be result in a greater approval for her mother. But the result is conflict or incongruence between what the young girl naturally experienced as satisfying, playing soccer, and what her self-concept now demands from her of donning soccer in favor of teaching. Of course, the result is that this situation will be psychological tension and discomfort, along with the associated deficiencies. The 6-cure condition. In order for the tension to dissipate and change to a cure, Carl Rogers believes 6-cure condition must exist. First, psychological contact between counselor and client. Second, the client is incongruent. Third, the counselor is congruent. Fourth, the client receives empathy from the counselor. 5. The counselor show unconditional positive regards towards the client. 6. The client receive acceptance and unconditional positive regard. The fully functioning person. With this cure condition in place, a person can be a fully functioning person. People who fall into this category develop in an atmosphere of unconditional positive regard and possess a positive view of themselves. They are self-actualizing and the leader organismic valuing process rather than interjected condition of worth. They exist in a state of congruence as our will-adjusted psychology. Rogers specified 5 characters of a fully functioning person. Openness to experience. Acknowledging one experience without denying or distorting them. Free from defenses. 2. Existential living. Living in the here and now in the present moment. Organismic trust. Trusting one's own experience and beliefs about right and wrong, good and bad, not led by others' people's opinions. Experiential freedom, making choices for oneself and accepting responsibility for those choices. Creativity, being able to adapt to changing circumstances, constantly seeking new experiences and challenges. Roger views that being fully functioning first is not state unachieved, but a continual process of growth. The fully functioning person lives what Roger called the good life, a life that is rewarding, enriching, challenging, and meaningful. He or she also shows genuine concern for others and feels to help them become fully functioning as well. This form of therapy is based on the Rogerian belief that all clients possess within themselves that potential for change and better health. The role of the therapist is employed to free or stimulate the individual's actualizing tendency through a relationship marked by empathy, genuineness, and unconditional positive regard. The three pillars of a person-centered therapy include the 6 conditions, 7 stages of process, and 19 proposition. Person-centered therapy, or a version of it, is still practiced by some mental health professionals today. Other critics argue that by relying primarily on client self-reports, Roger completely ignores the unconscious factors that influence behavior and personality. As a result, his approach has been viewed as somewhat superficial. Roger authored a number of influential scholarly papers and books throughout his career, also received several prestigious awards, and held influential positions in a number of organizations. Carl Rogers' personal life: married Helen Elliott in 1924. In 1987, Roger broke his pelvis after a bad fall. February 4, 1987, a few months later, he passed away. He was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize.